Today we dive into the world of duckweed, a tiny aquatic plant that packs a big punch. After floating on water surfaces like green carpets, duckweed is gaining popularity among farmers for its fast growth and high protein content. Now, while many confuse it with azolla, there's a key difference. Azolla has fan-like leaves and relies heavily on a symbiotic relationship with blue-green algae, while duckweed is simpler, grows faster, and thrives in a variety of water conditions. Duckweed is not just easy to grow, it's a sustainable source of livestock feed, a natural water purifier, and even helps cut costs on farm imports. Today, we meet a young, passionate farmer who embraced this green gold. Let's get his story. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. Thank you so much for choosing K24 TV today, and you're right on time for yet another exciting episode of Kilimo na Biashara. And well, today we are here to study about or to learn about a unique type of algae. There's azolla, yes, but not azolla, an algae called duckweed. Are you wondering what that is? Then let's and where are we notifying our duckweed here?
So we are working on it. We are now planning to plant. Yeah.
Just so the last time we were here, you're doing red worms. How did you transition to all this?
We were in vermiculture, vermicomposting, and today now it's different. We run a different thing.
But what are we here to learn today?
So here we are running today about duckweed farming, its advantages, difference with between duckweed and azolla.
But now, what is duckweed?
So duckweed, it's a type of an algae that you'd find growing on most of the freshwater lakes as a protein source for fish. So ideally that is what duckweed is. And also you'll find it in some of the swampy areas or stagnant water. If you walk around Nairobi, because Nairobi we know at times there are places you'll find stagnant water. So it's one of the types of algae that you'll find there.
Joji, but now what's the difference between azolla and duckweed, because they have a striking similarity?
Yeah, they almost look the same, but they have a difference in terms of their appearance. So just by the look of it, here we have three types of algae that we are growing. We have duckweed, we have azolla, and we have another type that we call wolfia. So all of them, they don't look the same. So duckweed is a flat leaf. Azolla, if you look at it, mostly we say that the leaves look like a fan. There is a weed normally called fan. So that is its appearance. And now for the wolfia, it looks just like seeds, but it's green. So that is the difference in terms of the appearance.
Let's talk about how to grow duckweed.
So I didn't start by having it just naturally from there. I introduced it. Back in the year 2017, I was rearing chicken, and I had started rearing worms to feed my chicken. But for the worms, they really didn't do as I expected. So I was also looking for other alternatives for feeding my chicken. So that is how I came to know about duckweed farming and azolla farming.
So when you're talking about you growing it, you bought it from 1 kg. How did you manage it until it got to this level?
So now for the duckweed, it's quite simple in terms of growth management, as also compared to azolla. So for the duckweed, we just need a pond like the one we have here, a shallow pond. Mostly we do a pond of 30 centimeter deep. And that is why you found me that I could go in there, because it's not deep. Then now from there, for it to grow successfully, it needs nutrients. and a lot of nutrients at that. So we just get our nutrient from manure. So in this farm we have a biogas, so we are using Biashara as the nutrient source for our duckweed. Then we put water, not really full, but we do about 20 centimeters. From our 30 centimeter pot, we do 20 centimeters of the water. Then now we introduce our duckweed at that point. Yeah.
And now after the application of manure and the management practices, let me take you back a little bit. How was the initial cost? What's the initial cost when you were coming up with this?
So for a small pond of about 5 meters, you can use 1,000 in terms of the cost of the material. Then the cost of the seed, you can use between 500 to 1,000, depending on the amount we start with. But so looking at the initial cost, you can start with around 2,500, 3,000. You will have started now the duckweed farming.
Now, after you've grown duckweed, at what point do you know this is ready for harvest?
Once we plant, it depends on the amount that you start with. Because if you start with the right amount, we say the right amount is about 100 grams per meter squared. So if we start with that amount, by the 3rd week, we'll be ready to start harvesting. So between the 3rd and the 4th week, now we start harvesting and now supplying to our livestock animals. If we do a less amount, we give it more time, because ideally, most of the farmers normally ask, how will I know that my duckweed is ready for harvest? We say normally once we plant, so once we plant, the pond won't be full. But by the 3rd week, you find that you won't see the water. You will just be seeing the green thing on top. So at that point now, you know we are ready to start harvesting.
What are some of the challenges that you experience, especially at this level?
We should ensure that your water is always above 10 centimeters from the base. So anytime you find that it is going down to around 10 centimeters, add more water. And then when you add more water, it means you have diluted your nutrients. So you should add more nutrients. So you should add more manure. Yeah.
Kiambu is quite cold, especially during this season. I'm wondering, is that the most favorable weather or temperatures for growing duckweed?
As far as you have enough nutrients, the water is okay. It will be growing all through. But we realize that during the warm seasons, it tends to be more prolific in terms of its growth. So you find that when it's such as this a season, it's a bit slow in terms of how it grows.
Talking about the safety of the plants, whenever it rains, there is a possibility that they'll be swept away by rainwater. What do you do when it comes to those particular incidences?
So we have to make sure that we drain the pod, not fully, but whenever it rains, we find that it's almost full. We drain a bit to make sure that it comes back to the around 20 centimeter mark.
Well, George, I see there's a lot to talk about when it comes to duckweed, but well, those are just the initial stages. You've just learned about the basics. There's a lot to learn about duckweed, especially for you who's still confusing this for azolla. No, it's not azolla. Till this very moment, and if you're just joining us today, we are focusing on duckweed. And I know if you're joining us, you might confuse this with azolla, but it's not azolla, it's duckweed. The process that we're doing right here is propagating it, sort of planting it. So just join us.
It's because of the protein requirement in this farm because I'm feeding chicken, I'm feeding some pigs, I have some fish. So because it's their source of protein mainly, that is why I decided I need to have more so that I can have a good harvest. So ideally from this pond also I have another bigger one. We are getting an average of about 20, now a total of about 30, including now the duckweed, the Azora that is, which now that is 30 kgs per week. Ideally that is a good production to feed now the fish and the chicken and pigs, yeah.
What are the advantages of growing duckweed?
One, we are looking at alternative. So we call them the alternative sources of protein. Because we find that relying on commercial feeds, it's not sustainable currently because of their cost and quality. So when having duckweed here, first we are sure that we have quantity and also we are sure we have quality in terms of the protein. So the other thing is that we are looking at how can we lower our cost of production. Instead of just relying on the commercial feeds, we incorporate, we really don't do away with it, but we incorporate, thereby cutting around 40% of whatever we are feeding. So that really helps us in terms of ensuring that we have feeds for our chicken, also for our pigs and for the fish.
Since Azora and duckweed are in the same family, yeah, can you grow them together?
So they do grow together. But at a certain level, you find that Azora will overtake duckweed because it has a slight higher rate of growth. Thereby, you find that it will overtake the duckweed. And looking at the protein content, we find that duckweed is a bit higher than the Azora. So we want to have them growing on separate ponds. Then now we can feed them to the fish together. But in terms of their growth, we want them to grow separately.
I'm just curious, George, does this duckweed expire at some point and you'll need to get rid of it?
So one thing with these types of algae is that you can have them as long as you can manage them. So which is just having enough nutrients for them. So once you have enough nutrients for it, you make sure that you do not add any chemicals which might kill it. You will have your duckweed growing all through and being productive. So once you have that, it will keep on growing because as we harvest it, normally we say it doubles after every 48 hours to 72 hours. So every 3 days it will double. So as we harvest, it keeps on doubling. So we'll have it for a long time.
And since this water is stagnant here for quite some time, do you at some point change it? See the need to change the water?
So now what we do, especially with the big pond, we are pumping the water now from the fish pond. Then at a certain point, we are pumping the water from this pond to the farm. Now for the farming activities. So in the small pond, after 6 months, normally we change that water. Then we bring in fresh water, we add more Biashara, then we replant the same duckweed again. So that is how we are able to manage in terms of the water. Also, at a certain point during the dry seasons, some water will evaporate. Then we will top up again to make sure that it's on the right level.
So while you ensure that this particular pond is well managed, do you add any other nutrients?
It depends on what a farmer has. So in my case, I have a lot of Biashara. There is something that we call plant tea. We extract from different plants like Tidonia, Russian comfrey, kahurura. So those are vegetables. So all these different plants, we ferment them together, we get a liquid from them. Also that one can be used as an additive. If not using the two types, we can use a type of a fertilizer that we call TSP or SSP, so majorly for a phosphorus source. So those are the main 3 items that we can use while adding nutrients to our ponds.
George, as a duckweed farmer, what are your challenges? Because I know different farmers experience different challenges. As a duckweed farmer, what are your challenges?
So now some of the challenges are, first, let's talk on the initial. While planting, getting the right materials, because if we just use any type of nylon, that will be a challenge for us. So getting the dam liner, first the cost of the dam liner, it's quite high. From that point, it's the initial now, the stage of planting again. There is a challenge in terms of either the slurry, the fertilizer, the nutrition that we use. One can use something that will kill your duckweed at the very initial stages. So we make sure that we do not use very fresh cow dung.
I was actually curious, yeah? You can't use fresh cow dung?
Yeah, we can't use that because of the ammonia levels. So we can't use chicken manure because of the ammonia levels. So we have to make sure that we are using either composted manure, that is wet decomposed, or we are using bioslurry. So it has gone through that process of decomposition. It's good, because if you use that, you would find that within the very first 3 days, all your duckweed is dry.
Let's talk about pests and diseases. When it comes to duckweed, does it get affected by any of those?
For the diseases, not really, but for the pest at times, yeah. You find that we can classify frogs as pests. So now what we do, we have to really manage that through just natural methods. First, the frogs do not like acidic environments. So if we add anything like the TSP fertilizer, it's a bit acidic. So it will either kill them if they are there, or it will chase them away. Also, in such big ponds, we can introduce 5 or 10 catfish. So they will keep on eating the frogs, the eggs, or any other pest that will come in that pond.
Thank you so much for that, George. I've learned quite a lot. I feel like this was now the bone in the body, like the true story. Well, we're still on duckweed. We're still learning about duckweed, and we're nowhere close to the end. Right now, we are about to feed the fish, and I'm just curious, does the fish really like this duckweed, or it's because it's the option available in the market?
So they really like it. If we compare when we are feeding with commercial feeds and when we are feeding them on duckweed, they really like it. And they eat it at a very fast rate compared to how we feed the commercial feeds. So they really like it, and even comparing on how we see in terms of their response, feeding, in terms of their growth, compared even to how when we are feeding just commercial, it's good for them.
So George, for a farmer who wants to begin this type of venture, I'm sure they're wondering, can I have my fish even under or beneath this particular duckweed when it's full grown like the other pond?
So we can't do it like the other pond, because one, if our fish have grown to for about 3 months, they will feed on it very fast and finish it within a few days. So that is one reason. If the other scenario happens, that is if the duckweed covers the whole pond, it will kill the fish. So we don't want it growing, we just want to put it there for them to feed. To 1-2 days, they finish it.
So is it a cheaper option compared to any other substitute?
Yeah, it's a cheaper option, because you see the initial cost for the startup, it's not really high. Then you find that it will really lower your feeding cost or your commercial feeding. So it's a cheaper cost as compared to the commercial feeds.
Well, then we can feed them some more, and then we go. We feed the chicken next, or the pigs.
We go and feed the chicken. Then we'll also feed the pigs.
Okay. To blend it with a little bit of this. So what is this, and why are we blending it?
So this is the commercial feeds. It's a type of a commercial feed. We call it kienyeji. So it's mainly for the free-range chicken. And now that is what we are going to mix. And the main reason we are using this, it's because it's not of the best quality in terms of the protein content. So now we are mixing with our duckweed to boost the protein content. So it has the carbohydrates, energy source. But now we mix with the duckweed to boost on the protein content so that it can be fit now for the kienyeji chicken.
And I see you also have ducks and a blend of everything inside there. So it's good for general animal feeding.
Yeah, it's good for all types of livestock. Just the preparations are a bit different for some.
What's the preparation for this?
Now, like for the chicken, we just harvest, come and mix and feed them direct. Now for the ruminants, that is the sheep, goats, rabbits, cows, we need it to be a bit dry because of their digestion system.
But what advantage have you seen since you started feeding your chicken and your ducks with this particular blend or mixture as opposed to what people use in their homes?
So one, it's in terms of their production, because once we boost the protein content, their growth will be much better. Their production in terms of are they laying or are they for meat, they'll be much better. So that is why it's much better to mix, either to mix or to have it in your feeds.
Okay, let's mix. So it has to be dry.
Now for the chicken, it's good the way it is. I think that one is enough. Then we just mix it that way. Then we can feed them. Okay. Yeah.
So here, but we'll just feed them from here.
Yeah, we'll feed them from here. Though it's just the mother who is feeding. They are around 3 weeks. They are 3 weeks old, so they are just breastfeeding.
So they are purely breastfeeding.
Yeah, so they are not feeding yet. Because they start feeding from a month and a half, then we wean them at 2 months. So saizi tu wananyonya. Yeah.
So do you exclusively feed the mother with duckweed only?
Not just with duckweed. So we feed it on commercial feeds, but now we reduce the amount. So normally early in the morning, she already fed on the commercial feeds. We don't have to mix like for the chicken. So once we bring it the duckweed, it feeds on it just that way, or the azora or any other feeds that we are feeding them. Yeah.
Since you have a lot of livestock, you have pigs, you have chicken, and you have a lot, does this duckweed that you have in this farm enough to feed all of them?
Yeah, it's enough currently. As we build or increase the population, we keep on increasing because we find that with 30 kgs of duckweed per week and also azora, that is around 3 kgs also per day. So with 3 kgs per day, that is enough to like feed the chicken. The chicken are around 70 of them. 70 of them, they just need a kg per day. For the pig, we feed it a kg per day. Then for the fish, also we are doing like a kg, or we can feed them like 7 kgs or 8 kgs, leave them for around 4 days, 5 days without feeding them again.
Wow.
So that is enough currently for the 3.
Now we can feed the mother, yeah?
Just feed it from here.
A small portion of it.
Yeah, small portion of it. Then he just feeds.
Thank you so much, George,
Much welcome.
for creating time to speak to us and for granting us your time and knowledge. Thank you.
Much welcome.
Wow, and thank you for being part of Kilimo na Biashara show today. Well, with the rising cost of animal feeds, you might as well rethink about this, because this will cut the cost of the alternative source of protein that you would have otherwise gotten in other products that are quite expensive. So duckweed might as well be your option. I hope you've learned a lot in this particular show today. You actually don't need large tracts of land to start a particular project. With a small portion of land, you're good to go. My name is Linda Koske. See you again next Sunday for yet another exciting episode of Kilimo na Biashara show. See you then.